Welcome back to the Spoonful Show, where we celebrate resilience, realness, and the many ways we care for ourselves while living with chronic illness. So today I'm joined by my Spoonie co host, Karissa Fox, who's been learning about longevity healing, things like supplements, functional medicine, and lifestyle changes, and how they might connect with chronic illness. We'll also talk about the hesitation that comes with healing, like the overwhelm of cost, conflicting advice, and figuring out who you can trust. So if you felt unsure about where to start or what's worth trying, this episode is for you. The Spoonful of Strength podcast is now the Spoonful Show. This podcast brings strength, humor, and heart to the chronic illness community. Inspired by the spoon theory, which shows us that even with fewer spoons, we can still live fully. This show highlights real spoony topics and practical insights to help you feel less alone and more empowered. I'm your host, Rachel, and together we'll take on this journey one spoon at a time. Welcome, Karissa. It's so nice to be able to see you again. It's been over about a year now?
Yeah, it's been, probably a little over a year since we
Yeah.
chatted last time.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. And you were on episode 14 of the Spoonful of Strength show, and that was to kind of talk about your story,
Yeah.
introduce yourself, and to learn a little bit more about things like syringamelia and Chiari.
Yeah.
And so can you give us an update on how you're doing? Anything new in your life?
Yeah. So, okay. It's been like the longest and shortest year. It flies by, but it's like we just lay there and wait for appointments and things. But then, yes. So for me, as far as treatments or fixes, I haven't found any yet, but I'm still looking. Like I had waited to go to Duke where they're supposed to be magical at finding CSF leaks and giving people a lot of hope. And unfortunately they didn't find anything either. So it's hard because you wait so long. Like I think I waited 8 months for that appointment and you put all your eggs in that basket and then it doesn't happen. So that there's been that. So because of that, then there's been, let's try to find another doctor. There's about three or four more that we're still hoping might have a solution. But as far as as far as the illness goes, I've just been managing, and when I say that, I use that word lightly because I don't, I think surviving might be the better word. Just making sure that there's not a lot to do. I lay in bed about 20 to 23 hours a day. It's crazy, but yeah. So as far as treatments, what I've been doing for the last year, I've been looking to see what in the world might be out there. That's all I've been doing is looking for answers and just still building the community and um I think I found a couple more communities since then, a couple good support groups. But yeah, otherwise it's just been hanging out.
I was so hoping that you would have found something
Yeah.
that would have gotten you out of bed. I can't believe that you're still having to spend that much time laying down. I don't know
Yeah.
how you do it.
It's crazy. I mean, honestly, it's very depressing. I have been doing aquatic therapy, and that's
Yeah.
really that does help a ton, like psychologically and physically. I think it's helped with a lot of the fibromyalgia type pain, the extremities, and the stuff that was happening because I'm laying in bed so much. Some of those things, it's helped a lot. And then I think it's more preventing me from getting worse, I would say, but it
Yeah.
is still improving too. I think overall, just being able to be in the water, stretch out, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm clenched all the
Yeah.
time from being in pain and just trying to support my joints and everything. So being able to relax in the pool is, I mean, it's incredible, really. And I'm hoping they keep improving it with the insurance and everything. So far, they've been really good about approving what the doctors ordered.
Oh, that's
And
good.
it's actually the pain doctor who ordered it. And so like he said, as long as it's working, he'll give me as much as I need because it's something that, is it's going to help with the pain, but it's not going to cause any other issues.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that you'll get there soon. But well, I reached out to you about co-hosting with me, and I asked you what topics you were really interested in talking about. And so you really wanted to talk about longevity healing, living
Mhm.
healthier and not just longer.
Yes.
And that I just thought that was such a great topic to talk about. It's not one that we've talked too much about.
Right.
And so tell me why that was important to you to talk about.
Well, so for me, before all of this happened, holistic health was something that was really important to me. I did a lot of things with acupuncture and herbs and Chinese medicine. And I kind of let that go and was focusing so much on the spinal injury, and kind of put all of that to the wayside, and wasn't really thinking about my whole health, really. And so after, giving the doctors a couple of years and they're not really finding much, I'm like, all right, we got to see what else is out there. And I just started thinking, I need to go back to what I did before to feel good. And I thought about that and I was like, I think holistic health and kind of longevity medicine gets overlooked a lot in our chronic illness and our healing community because I think we look for all or nothing kind of things, right? Like a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to cure me. I know I have this forever, so that's not for me. The longevity stuff, it goes back to the have you tried yoga question that I think we
Right.
get frustrated with, as a whole. But then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, but there's so much overlap. And once I
Yeah.
started to think about where the overlap is, and I'm like, I think it's the way we've been approaching the longevity medicine was it's not really the way that we're looking at fixes and cures, right? So once went back to that and I started thinking about it, I'm like, okay, if we're not giving our bodies what we need, then we have no chance feeling better. But if we can give the body some of the things that it needs and some of the um, just supplements and different treatments, right? I think there's a lot of holistic health treatments, red light therapy, there's yoga, there's, all of the things that we can do some of. And, I'm like, well, let me try to figure out a way that I can see how this could work for our community and make it easier because, I think that it's just so overwhelming. There's so many things out there, especially when you start thinking about supplements
Yeah.
and just holistic health treatments and all the things that you can buy on Amazon or wherever. And then that just gets overwhelming. So I thought, okay, if I have this page, maybe I can try to break it down, and make it something that actually makes sense for people with chronic pain and chronic illness, because I do think there's a lot of things that could help that our doctors aren't able to spend the time learning about. We know they don't have the time to do the research and the background studies that we would want them to be able to do, right? They just don't have the time. So I'm like, okay, I have the time. Let me see what I can put together. So I just thought about how I could use that for our community. And so that's kind of where my thought process came in that we could talk about
Yeah.
the longevity medicine and kind of, some of the ways that I think that it could improve our health, or some of the things that are out there that we could afford and do either that are free, or that are just things that we could try that aren't going to break our banks, because I think that's the other thing is it's just we're in
Yeah.
such a limited funding situation usually. Like I know I am at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's so expensive. So it's like, what can we really do and get the most for our money and actually feel better? So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where I came up with this.
Yeah. I think the point that you made about it being overwhelming is so true because that's where I'm at in this space. I don't have a lot of extra money to be able to put towards
Yeah,
supplements, and so I'm looking for more of the inexpensive or the free things. And it's so overwhelming to think about, where do I start? Who can I
right,
trust? You
right.
see the things online, the vitamins and all of these things, and it's so overwhelming to say, well, what do I start with? Is this going to help me? Is this not going to help me? And especially like in my instance, I have more than one chronic illness. So it's like, is this gonna even help? What if it makes this worse and all of that? And so I feel like that people are open to it, but just scared and not sure where to go, and are worried about the financial aspect of it. I did actually see, and I can't even remember if it was a doctor or if it was just like an herbal specialist or something, but years and years ago I went. And I mean, he was like, you need this and you need
Yeah.
this and you need this and this. And it was like, I think over $800. And I
Right.
was like, there's no way. And I walked out of there spending 400. And I
Yeah.
was like, I never went back. And I
Mhm.
never, because it was like, I can't do this on a monthly basis.
Right. Right. And it's like, and on top of it being for $800, it was probably like 20 pills a day or something to add. That
It
always
was,
seems like there's so many things that they want you to take at the same time.
yeah,
And that part is very overwhelming too. It's just,
yeah,
okay, especially when we have these chronic illnesses where we don't want to do something that's going to make us feel worse. And
yeah,
so treating these things is, we want to go very slowly, and that's not usually their approach either. So that's,
yeah,
yeah, I agree. It's the cost, and then just how much they throw at you at the same time.
yeah, yeah. And I think it was at the point where it was like 800 and I'm like, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, well, we could probably so then it makes you feel like, okay, well, now I'm almost hurting my body because I'm not getting what
Yeah.
I need. And so I'm very open to it, but I would like to hear kind of your thoughts on starting from scratch, and like what are some things that you've tried that have worked, or is
Right.
it something that you really need to see somebody to figure out what you need?
Yeah. And so actually that's kind of where I'm at right now is how do we get the best thing for our bodies, right? And so the way I decided to think about that was, okay, we know our bodies aren't able to heal 100%, but we know that there's a couple things that everybody has in common. Like when we are in pain, our bodies are inflamed, like for that for instance. So just something that simple it could really actually make it so much easier if we back way up and look at trying to get our bodies in a place where they could even have a chance to heal. And I think that's where some of the things that are available, that you could even do online or do with food and find free ways to do things. There's so many things on TikTok, on YouTube, and so what I'm trying to narrow down now is, okay, all of that information, where do we start? Where do we start and what can we start with? And I think that the inflammation is the big thing. The inflammation, and that's in our body. We hear that word so much. But essentially if we think about it, it just is saying there's something that's doing this in our body, and it could be big, it could be small. And that's one of the things that when you look at it from like a body perspective and a Chinese medicine perspective, if your body's inflamed, it's kind of fighting everything that you're trying to give it. So it wouldn't matter if you spent the $800 on the supplements anyway, and if your body's not in a place where it could take it. So I'm like, whoa, we got to go way back and just look at what can we do to get our bodies not inflamed, right? And there's a lot of things out there for inflammation that you can do for free, like changing your diet. There's different yoga and exercises that are gentle that we could do for our bodies. Like even when I've found a few things where you can, do bed yoga, right? And so it's even when I'm stuck in bed and up there, I'm like, okay, there's still something I can do to try to let my body relax and unwind. So there's a lot of things like that just to start. And I think the big thing is understanding that you don't have to start with throwing all the supplements at your body. You could start by just getting your body to calm down first. And I think that was my big like aha moment, was really just thinking about it that way and thinking, okay, it's not so much about what we need to add to our body, it's just what we need to give to our body to let it calm down. And so that's
Right.
yeah, so that's where I think the the things that are already out there. There's so many great creators. There's providers that are putting this stuff on their TikToks, on their Instagram for free, and giving us all of this knowledge. And I think it's huge. And if we can connect with those right people and just kind of start watching what they're putting out there, and seeing if it's something that resonates with what you're dealing with. And there's a couple great providers that do things like bioresonance and some of the energy type healing stuff. So that it's a little different, but it gets some of that stuff where you can just do different breathing exercises, and you can do just things to relax your body. That we probably aren't doing, and we're probably underdoing what we need to relax, right? Because we're always battling something when we're sick anyway.
Are you looking for merch that speaks to your truth and makes you laugh? Spoonful of Strength has you covered, literally. From t-shirts and hoodies to mugs and magnets, every design is made for the chronic illness community with heart, humor, and a whole lot of strength. Funny? Check. Inspirational? You bet. Illness specific? Absolutely. And the best part? I can personalize any design or create a custom shirt for you for no extra charge. So whether you're laughing through the pain or wearing your diagnosis with pride, our designs are funny, fierce, and illness specific, because being chronically ill doesn't mean being chronically boring. So if you want a sweatshirt that gets you, head to spoonfulofstrength.etsy.com. Now that's spoonful with 2 L's. Use code podcast for 20% off your entire cart. I know, as far as like insurance and things
Hmm.
like that, most insurance plans don't cover a lot of
Right.
holistic things. And I wonder, I have somebody in my family that went to a dietitian, and that was covered under
Yeah.
insurance.
Mhm.
and to be able to go and say, this is what I'm dealing with, which diet is going to be the best for
Right.
me.
Yeah, that's a
And
great point.
because I think that there is a lot of talk about this out there, and sometimes it's hard to say, well, who can I trust? I don't know
Yeah.
this person.
Yeah.
And so same with, if you visit a naturopath, maybe you have to pay for that first visit, but maybe you can get the information on the things
Right.
that you need,
Right.
and maybe be able to start it at your own pace, and buy them maybe a little bit less expensive, because I wonder if changing everything all at once kind of puts the body into a shock, as far
Right.
as
Yeah. Yeah.
now you're taking 20 pills a day, and so the
Exactly.
way that I would view it is, let me start by my diet, and what do,
Yeah.
based on my chronic illnesses, what is it that I need? I have a lot of gastro issues. What's going to be the best route for me? And starting with that,
Yeah.
and letting your body kind of get used to that. And then starting
Yes.
with, what vitamins do I need? I have MS. MS is notorious for being low on vitamin D. I take my vitamin D every day, because that is something that will support that, and
Yeah.
making it just small changes all at
Small change.
once.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
to invest in that information, not necessarily
Yeah.
all of the $400 worth of pills, but gathering
Right.
that information and being able to do it on your own time. And then, they say when you have stomach issues, you should, take out a bunch of foods and bring them back one at a time.
Right.
That could work for this as well, of being like, let me try this
Yeah.
supplement, and let me see how I
Yeah.
feel, see how my body reacts. And if I feel better, then it stays.
Right.
Okay, let's introduce something else.
Yes. And that's exactly it. And it's really us being our own study,
Yeah.
and that's what it comes down to, unfortunately, is kind of you have to see what's going to work for your body. And I love that you said though that the dietitian part being covered. So there's
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think we can look at too, is now insurance does cover a lot more than they used to. So there's things that your plan may cover, that you don't even know about, that could help. Like like you said, the dietitian. Like I didn't realize that my insurance actually covers massage therapy. And I'm like, whoa, I could be
Yeah.
getting these every once in a while, and that's huge. Things like that we might not realize. And the chiropractic care, and even a lot of the physical therapy, and
Yeah.
or if you talk to your doctor about what you're trying to what you're trying to accomplish, like is it they there's probably a therapist that you could probably see, and they could help you get a direction to start going, it's just something to move forward and have a path to go with, because it's overwhelming. But yeah, there's things that our insurance does cover, that could be a great starting place, like the dietitian. And you brought up another good thing with the food and the gut issues. That's another one of those inflammation things that kind of was, an aha moment for me, is um, now we're starting to see that everything originates in the gut, and we're starting to see a lot more of that. So I think there's a lot more to come with that, but I think what we're finding is that there's a lot of healing we can do with our food, with adding a couple things to our gut health, like the one of those things that's also one of those overwhelming things we hear all the time, probiotics, prebiotics, that stuff. But there's a lot of great combinations out there that will not only help your gut, but you're going to actually get rid of pain and get rid of a lot of the achiness in your joints, and some of that stuff will greatly reduce just by healing some things in your gut. So yeah, I agree. I think you start with what your insurance does cover, or talking to your even if you just call your insurance company. Like I called my provider, or I called my insurance company to find out if they had anyone that would help with people that have complex cases, because it's so overwhelming to get all the referrals and everything. And they actually have nurse case managers and a whole program that is just for people that have a lot of issues like diabetes, or something that requires a lot of maintenance. So it's something to check into, just to start to see what your insurance might offer. Because I was really surprised by that, and it's been super helpful just to have that help with all of the referrals and some of these things that I am finding, and if there's doctors or things that we can find that are covered. So there is help out there, even through the insurance company sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like insurance companies it's too complicated and all of
Yeah,
that, but that's a really good advice on finding somebody that can kind of be the liaison and help you, because there may be a doctor in your area that covers Eastern and Western, that may be covered,
right.
and to be able to help. Um and you talked a little bit about stress management as far as like yoga and meditation. We've covered this topic before, but I think it is really important, especially when you have a lot going on in your system, to be able to take the time to kind of just reset and
Right.
focus on 5 minutes a day could
Yeah.
make a big difference.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And it's one of the things that we're probably all really bad at with our illness taking the forefront of our life is stress management. And
Hmm.
that makes us all so much more vulnerable for all of the things that come along with that, because the more stress and anxiety that your body has, the more it gets inflamed, and then the more we have these cycles of pain and things that are just making us feel worse. But yeah, the the stress management piece, I think, is really big. I was thinking about this a few weeks ago, that even though I'm in bed all the time, I'm never relaxed, It's like we lay there, but it's not like we're laying there and enjoying ourselves. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way to make this a little less a little
Yeah.
more enjoyable while we're laying here. So I have really been taking advantage of free YouTube videos with breathing and meditation. And meditation's been one of the things that I've added that I think has been really huge for trying to balance the anxiety and the inflammation in the body, and just balancing the nervous system and trying to get that a little less from all the pain and all of the inflammation, the that compression that I have. But yeah, that's one of those things where you can just look on YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram and find so many things to help that are free, and that's something that could really help, uh, that you could do with just 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard of like the box breathing, things
Mhm.
like that can help just kind of try and calm the nervous system a little
Yeah,
bit. And I also think that, as far as like supplements and vitamins, really connecting with your doctor's
yeah.
illness specific. Like
Mhm.
I said, with MS, it's vitamin D, and to be able to say, how can I support this? How can I support my type 1 diabetes or my
Yeah.
MS or my Lyme, with supplements, and starting there.
Mhm.
And then if you have the means, be able to go and get that
Right.
visit. And and see if there's anything else that can really help. Because I feel like right now, there are times, I'm sure everybody goes through it, where you just feel like everything's firing at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that is wrong with me is turned up,
Right.
and you don't even know where to start, and
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to help. You certainly don't want to do anything that's going to make it worse. And um, I tend to not like taking prescription
Right.
medication
Right.
for symptoms.
Yeah.
I have a sensitivity to a lot of medicines.
Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
great point. Just starting slow and adding one thing at a time. Yeah, and I think that's
Mhm.
even more important with when we are already dealing with so much stuff in our system. We really do want to do one thing at a time and do it very slowly. And another thing that I've actually listened to a bunch of podcasts with some naturopaths, and another thing that they pointed out is um the dosing, the like making the dosing a lot lower because of our chronic whatever we're dealing with, like the autoimmune things and some of the things that just make it so much more of a trigger for us to change anything. Like, there could be we take the wrong tea, right? Have the wrong tea one day and it could make your whole day full of symptoms. So starting with much smaller doses and much smaller amounts is also really key. So even when with the supplements, like with the vitamin D and things like that um, you may want to just start with something a little bit lower, like half the dose,
Yeah.
and that's something to definitely talk with the doctors with, and but just something to keep in mind that taking lower amounts can actually make a big difference. So you may also be able to save some money that way too, right? If you're only taking
Yeah.
half of the amount that you need to and it's enough to make a difference, then it could be enough to help you get going and get your body out of the nervous system jumble that it's in right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, we're giving some advice of things that we've tried and all of that, but you definitely want to make sure and consult your doctor on the things that you should be doing and shouldn't be doing, because there's a really fine line
Right.
of overloading your system with things that could be harmful or that could bring up additional symptoms and things like that. So reach out to your dietitians and your doctors and all of that before you start anything. But I think that as we kind of wrap everything up, I think, many protocols that are used in longevity, like
Mhm.
you mentioned, reducing the inflammation, healing the gut, managing stress,
Yeah.
all of that are the same practice that people with chronic illness, deal with.
Yeah.
So the thought that of just the things that healthy people do to live longer are some of the things that we can do to feel better
Better. Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be one piece of advice is to wrap this all up, that has helped you, that may be useful to our
Yeah.
listeners?
So the thing that I think has probably been the most helpful for me is honestly, red light therapy can work if you're using the right red lights. I think that's probably been the biggest thing for me because you hear so much, blah blah blah, red light therapy. It does work. It's not going to help you. Um, that's probably been the thing that's helped with most of my pain more than any medication or anything like that. So. Um, I think so saying that the point of that is just really to have an open mind and
Yeah.
actually maybe try it. Don't expect that it's going to heal you or cure you, right? It's not going to cure you, but it's something that might make a symptom feel better. Like, for me, just having my pain go down 1 or 2 levels a day, for the day, that's a huge help, right? If you feel 10 or 20% better, that's amazing. So I think that would be my biggest tip, is to just keep an open mind and give it some time, right? Don't expect that that anything's going to fix you overnight. And, I think just um, being in for the ride, and kind of thinking of it as doing your own study on yourself, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the way to gear it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be something that you're probably going to get an exact answer for overnight. You're going to have to play with some things, but I think you can feel a lot better. And there's so many companies out there that are really, really trying to help. And I think just knowing that honestly made me feel a lot better, because it feels very lonely, right? Like, especially when the doctors are all telling us there's nothing they can do. They don't have anything to fix us. And I think just knowing all of that's out there is a little bit more hopeful, to know that there's companies out there trying to figure out ways to make us feel better.
Mhm. Great. Where can people follow you on social media? You do have a lot of great information on your Instagram, and so tell us where they can follow
Yes.
you.
So you can find me at chronically underscore Carissa with a K. And on TikTok it's chronically.carissa. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is just share things that I found that have worked for me, and different companies, things that they offer. Even if it is something that worked for me, I'm just trying to connect people with the brands that are working with this type of holistic health, and you know trying to make us feel better, even if it's not something that's going to cure us. I'm just trying to find what's out there and
Yeah.
share it with everybody.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so
Yeah.
good. I think this was a good conversation of being able to talk about it, but also know some of the things that keep us from trying
Yeah,
the the supplements and things. And so I felt like, we were able to give a little bit of advice on things to try first,
right.
and that can be really useful, especially for people who do have financial um, restrictions and things like that. So thank you for not only bringing this topic to the podcast, but for coming on and talking with me.
Yeah,
And
thank
I've
you for
been
having me.
keeping up on your journey, and I see all that you're doing, and you're doing
Yeah.
some amazing things. So thank you.
Thank you. And I hope everybody's having a wonderful fall.
I really loved this conversation with Karissa because it's a good reminder that healing isn't one size fits all. We talked a little bit about the overlap of longevity and chronic illness, and how focusing on things like nutrition, stress, and lifestyle changes can help us to feel a little bit better, even though we're still managing symptoms. So I hope that today's episode gives you permission to meet yourself where you are. Healing doesn't always mean chasing every new supplement or treatment. Sometimes it's just about finding the small things that make your body feel cared for and supported. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Spoonful Show. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might need a reminder that healing is still possible in their own way and at their own pace. So until next time, no matter what today looks like, tomorrow always brings new spoons. Just take it one spoon at a time. Take care. Thank you for listening to The Spoonful Show. Follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a rating, review, and comment. Connect with me on Instagram at Spoonful of Strength and TikTok at spoonful.of.strength. Remember, that's spoonful with 2 L's. Shop customized t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, and more on our Etsy shop at spoonfulofstrength.etsy.com and use code podcast for 20% off your entire cart.